Hello everyone, and today will be the last video on miracles. And we're going to wrap up the miracle discussion with talking about some more miracles that have happened in some of the people's lives of my fans. And I'm going to start the first miracle off a pretty big one. And for those of you who maybe sometimes don't stick around to the end of the video, which I hope that's not you, but if you do, I do suggest you stay for that last miracle we talk about, because that too is going to be quite a big miracle that I think you will be glad that you stuck around to listen to. And I hope that you all enjoyed the miracle series from Lee Strobel, The Case for Miracles. And again, we're going to wrap up here with a couple of miracles from some of my fans and friends. The first miracle is a miracle by Ragnarok, if any of you know who he is. And I'm going to read it to you exactly the way he wrote it to me. It is very gratifying to hear everyone's experiences regarding miracles. In my particular case, this situation is something that I have simply seen as a matter of luck, of great luck. I have never considered it a miracle. When I was 18 years old and just starting my first semester at the university, it was hard for me to adjust. I started in the evening, left the university late, and returned home around 9 or 10 p.m. That day I decided to take a shortcut to get to my house. Stupid thing. The street was poorly lit, and while I was walking, I felt something next to me, pressing hard against my ribs. It was a gun. I had many things of value with me: a laptop, my cell phone, my wallet, cards, etc. Obviously, I was being mugged and still hadn't processed the situation. When I saw the guy's face, that's when I felt terror. The guy had a lost look, drooled and staggered a bit. He extended his hand and only stammered. He couldn't even speak well. The guy was drugged. I only thought that he would shoot me first, and then he would take my things. Almost by reflex, I threw my cell phone into his outstretched hand, and I kept the headphones. The guy barely reacted and heard the sound that I will never forget in my life. Click. The guy had pulled the trigger, but nothing happened. It was seconds, but it felt like I was there for hours. I didn't understand what was happening, and before I could finish thinking, I heard the second click. The second click made me react. I pushed the guy with all my strength and ran as fast as I could in the dark. I swear I could beat an Olympic marathon on that occasion. When I was running in the street, that seemed eternal to me. I hear a boom. I just remember ducking my head while running and running even faster. All this happened in seconds. I saw a small illuminated store and went inside. In my country, people can have their businesses like small supermarkets. Very small, but you can buy supplies and stuff there. I could barely breathe well. The business lady helped me and gave me some water. I explained my situation, and he let me stay there for a couple more minutes while I was recovering. I thanked the lady and left the premises, shaking. There was no point in calling the police. They do little or nothing in these situations. What I did was get home and phone my mother to explain what happened to me. Obviously, I used the cell phone of one of my neighbors. Strangely, I recovered and felt angry about my cell phone, but at the same time, they gave me and continued to give me chills. To think that the weapon did not detonate. There was no shot. There were 2 missed shots, and when I ran, it fired. It's a strange feeling, having experienced death so closely. It seems illogical to me, as the weapon not only missed once, but twice, as if something gave me the opportunity to flee. At that time, I neither thought about God, nor was I interested in things related to Him. But I don't know. Listening to everyone's experiences makes me appreciate that experience in another way. It was a miracle. A stroke of luck. Death didn't seem to want me. God intervened. I have no idea. All I know is that I'm still alive, and I couldn't be more grateful for that. I think it's like Mama Tori says, miracles don't manifest in big ways, but that second click, it brought me back to life. So that was Ragnarok's story, and it does seem like a very big miracle if you ask me. 2 clicks 2 clicks. And if he wouldn't have reacted for that third one, he wouldn't be here, possibly. It's just very, I don't know. It really makes you think. It makes you realize, that someone is watching out for you. So thank you for sharing that, Ragnarok. Our second miracle comes from Atlas. A while ago, I was on my way back from work in my Honda Pilot, when at an intersection I got T-boned on the driver's side by a Ford truck going 70 miles per hour. The windows were shattered, my car was now bent at an angle, and the airbags did not go off. I was so scared and hyperventilating. I am certain I would have passed out. But thankfully there was an off-duty firefighter who came up to me and calmed me down and helped me catch my breath. He helped me out of my car, where I saw that the other driver was okay and seemed uninjured. But I had a massive pain in my lower back when I walked, so I was brought to the hospital via ambulance so I could get it looked at. Although the medical staff in the ambulance looked at me for a bit and said I was very lucky not to have any noticeable distinct injuries or signs of a concussion. When I got to the hospital, my mom was waiting for me. She hugged me and talked to the medical personnel. I did not hear the whole conversation, but I did hear them say to my mom that I was lucky. Very lucky that I wasn't incredibly injured or worse due to how bad the crash looked. A few hours passed in the hospital bed where I took a CAT scan, and they came back and said that the only damage was a fractured vertebra at the base of my back that will heal in a week. They said that was the best possible outcome that could have happened, and a week later I was back to 100%. To this day, I'm scared to think that the crash could have seriously injured me or worse. I don't like to think about it too much, but I am thankful to be alive. I now wonder if it was a miracle that I got out of that crash as clean as I did. Every way I look at it, I should have gotten a few broken bones and ribs, but I didn't. Maybe someone was looking out for me that day. Thank you so much for that miracle and sharing that with us. It does sound like you should have gotten more injuries than what had happened. Here we have our next miracle, which is another miracle from Kobe. Medical miracles do happen, and I saw one for myself. I had a friend in high school who, along with 2 other friends, got into a drunk driving accident, and he was the only survivor. He was paralyzed from the waist down and was told he would never walk again. I didn't see him for over a year after I graduated. He was supposed to graduate with me, but got held back due to the accident and recovery. I was at this ceremony for a completely different friend, and he was graduating with her, which was a miracle on itself. However, the real miracle happened when it was his turn to accept the diploma. He, according to his own words, was told to stand up, get out of the chair, and walk across the stage. And he did just that, with some struggle and imbalance. To this day, his doctors have no explanation for how this was possible, and he was able to live normally, albeit with a walker. Thank you for sharing that, Kobe. That's always amazing when doctors tell people that they will not be able to walk again, and then they prove them wrong. Or should I say, God proves them wrong. Our next miracle is from Jimbo. One night, after spending the whole day at a friend's place, the gate I usually took to leave their area had closed, so I had to walk down a really long and dark pathway that was 1.5 miles long. I thought I was able to use my phone as a flashlight to walk through the dark, but my phone battery was too low to use the flashlight function. So I would have had to walk through the whole way without a light source. There was nobody outside their homes either, with their porch lights on, because it was already nearly 10 p.m. I was a bit scared because I didn't roam that area often, because I usually went straight to my friend's house and then used the gate where the street was to walk home. Just then the miracle happened. As soon as I started walking down the path, a street light came on right next to me. I thought nothing of it because it was only one street light that turned on, and there was still a long way to go. But as I walked, another street light came on. Then another, and another, and another, till I eventually walked the whole 1.5 miles with the way entirely lit. I looked back at the path. I walked and saw the line of streetlights that lit up as if someone or something was deliberately turning on the lights and lighting the path for me as soon as I walked by the light. Call it a stroke of luck or call it a scheduled event, but I'd say that's a miracle in my book. Thank you for sharing that, Jimbo. I know that living in the Philippines can maybe be scary, walking on some paths that are not well lit or not a safe path to walk home. So I'm glad that you got that lit up for you. Our next miracle is from a friend who would like to remain anonymous. This is a friend of mine, and my friend never sang at church before because he said he doesn't have a good singing voice and felt that people looked at him oddly when he did, one time when he was younger. So he never sings, not even by himself. I told him to sing when he went to church that day, but he said he couldn't. Well, when he came back from church, he told me he did sing at church since I encouraged him to do so. While he was singing, he felt a pain by his heart, as if someone was squeezing his heart, and he felt like he was randomly getting hugged by someone who wasn't there. Then, all of a sudden, some random guy got up and said that he accepted Christ 70 years ago. While my friend was singing, he heard 2 songs he hadn't heard in a long time, and he had felt at peace that he had never felt before. And he began crying in church. He felt so good about singing that day. He even continued to sing on his way home. What a miracle that is for someone who felt that they sung badly and never even sang by themselves and certainly never sang at church, to have this day that they decide to finally sing at church and have these wonderful things happen. It's so obvious that God was there present with him at that time and making him feel loved and making him feel that his song and his praise was something that was awesome, and it was something that God was happy that he was finally doing. So I'm glad he shared that. This miracle is a miracle from me, Mama Tori. I was sitting with my kids picking them up from college in the car, and I started seeing this gray blob in my vision surrounded by what I would describe as metallic geometric shapes filled with rainbow colors. I could not drive as my field of vision was disrupted by this colorful moving blob. And I'm going to tell you guys, I was scared. I told Kiwi and Roy, who was in the car with me, and she Googled the problem and thought that I could be having a stroke or a retinal detachment. I could not be driving anyone home, so I called my sister to come and get me and take me to the emergency room, but she was 30 minutes away. So while we were waiting for her to drive to me, I called my son's pediatric ophthalmologist to see if they could give me some sort of advice. They did not see adults and said that they could give me the name of an adult ophthalmologist to call. I didn't figure they'd be able to see me the same day, but I thought I would call anyway to get some advice. But they said that they wouldn't really be able to tell me anything over the phone and that they would need a referral to be able to see me. But they said they could transfer me to a retinal specialist. I thought there is no way that they're going to see me, but perhaps they could give me some advice. So I got them on the phone and they said, "We can see you in an hour." I was astonished at this because to see a specialist so quickly is pretty much uncalled for, at least here in the United States. But in the meantime, while I was on the phone, my vision was appearing to get better. So I told my sister that I don't have this colorful thing in my eye anymore. I just feel extremely tired, but I would like to drive my vehicle home. So she drove behind us. I was driving on the expressway, and I was just feeling weird. I don't know how to explain it. But I almost ran into someone because I didn't see the brakes that was happening in front of me. And after I got off the expressway, I actually felt a little confused and was looking at the houses and the streets and wasn't recognizing anything. And this was a route that I had taken every day. I then missed the street that I should have turned on. And so I got scared and I pulled off the street to the first street I could see, and my sister got in front of me, and then I followed her slowly the rest of the 2 minutes home. We went to see that retinal specialist, and he said that I had kaleidoscope vision from an ocular migraine. I look at this miracle as twofold. One, I had never ever gotten into a specialist the same day needing one. Usually it would take months. But in doing so and getting in that day, it eased my mind. And he also gave me follow-up instructions so that I didn't have to continue to worry that something else was going on. And secondly, I'm so grateful I didn't get into the accident that I could have gotten into on the way home, because I could have hurt me or my kids or someone else. God was definitely watching out for me, my kids, and others that day. So that's my miracle that just happened in this last few weeks that I wanted to share. And we are going to end today's miracle video with a miracle that to me is very close to my heart. It's just very, I think it's one of the biggest miracles that we've had here. This is a miracle that the person is going to remain anonymous. This young man was having a terrible time in his life at the time. His fiancée had just broken up with him. His dad had just gotten diagnosed with cancer, and he was passed up for a promotion. He decided he just could not live with these issues, and he was going to jump off the roof of a parking garage. It was night, and it was raining hard, and he had his cell phone with him, and he was listening to some songs on his YouTube app before he was going to jump. But due to the heavy rain, his phone screen was wet. He was wet. And when he went to click on the final song he was going to listen to before jumping, he accidentally clicked on another YouTube video from a channel he had never seen before. All of a sudden, all he could hear was the thumping of a heartbeat. And listening to that heartbeat, it reminded him that life is worth living. It was as if God was telling him to keep his heart beating, and he decided not to jump. What was that video that he watched, you might wonder? Well, that video was one of Katori's videos. It was her video entitled, Sleeping on Your Girlfriend's Chest. So Katori's Wholesome Girlfriend ASMR video was the miracle that saved this young man's life. And it was then that he started watching her channel. To me, that is just a bit overwhelming to, number one, know that this person was going to end his life that night. And number two, that the reason he didn't was because of one of my daughter's videos. So I want to end it on this, that God does use people in his miracles. And you can ask God to use you for good. You can ask Jesus to come into your heart and help to guide you to help those people who need his help. And you can be part of that miracle. I named my channel Mama's Light because I want to be a light to others. And Katori wasn't setting out to be a light to someone. But it turns out she actually is helping people, and I think that is wonderful. So try to make it your goal in life too, to help other people, because someday, somewhere, somehow, you may be least expecting it, but you might just be very grateful that someone has helped you. I hope you all have a great Easter and a great rest of this year. And I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet next for my next video. I may read another book, or I may just do some Bible studies, or I may even just do some inspirational talking. I haven't decided yet, but I guess it'll be a surprise for you. So I hope you all have a great time, and God bless.